Good evening. I have asked for this radio and television time tonight for the purpose of announcing that we today have concluded an agreement to end the war and bring peace with honor in Vietnam and in Southeast Asia. In the settlement that has now been agreed to, all the conditions that I laid down then have been met. A ceasefire, internationally supervised, will begin at 7 p.m. this Saturday, January 27, Washington time.
The peace agreement had two parts. It called for a ceasefire in place, and both sides were supposed to stop shooting, and then a political process to occur leading to elections that would supposedly create a new government in South Vietnam that would then make whatever arrangement it could make with North Vietnam. Neither side respected the ceasefire. Neither side ever made a single move to implement the political provision.
When the Paris Peace Accords are signed with a ceasefire in place, it leaves all of those North Vietnamese troops who were not destroyed in the Easter Offensive still in South Vietnam. And to me, that was essentially a death warrant eventually for South Vietnam.
Within 60 days from this Saturday, all Americans held prisoners of war throughout Indochina will be released. There will be the fullest possible accounting for all of those who are missing in action. During the same 60-day period, all American forces will be withdrawn from South Vietnam.
By March 73, all U.S. troops are gone, with the exception of about 60 military in the Defense Attaché office. The South Vietnamese are on their own. As Tu says, a third Indochina war starts. And so the South Vietnamese do very well in 1973, and a lot of heavy fighting. 1973 was the third highest year for South Vietnamese killed in action.
My family was pretty hopeful. The South Vietnamese army was strong. The Americans had equipped it, and they thought that the South Vietnamese army could hold out for a while if the Americans continued to give us economic and military aid and keep supporting the troops with bombing.
When we stopped bombing in 73, stopped bombing the Ho Chi Minh Trail, North Vietnam runs all that material and equipment and replacements down the Ho Chi Minh Trail.
Before the agreement, if one soldier, they want to infiltrate from North Vietnam to the south, it took him 6 to 9 months. After the Paris agreement, they take them only 3 days. Now they can go a battalion, regiment, they take Molotov all the way to the border and they come to the Vietnam, because at that time no more B-52, no more airplane, no more reconnaissance, no more aerial photo.
After the Americans pulled out completely, the economy began to crumble because jobs disappeared. You know, the whole country was supporting 500,000 American soldiers, right? When they left, a lot of the jobs went with them. There was war in the Middle East and an oil embargo. Inflation was very high. The government was very corrupt and inefficient. Students were out in the street protesting. General Thiel, who had become the head of the country by that time, was extremely unpopular.
The system was incurably corrupt. The whole government structure in South Vietnam was a military structure. Promotions were for sale. The military used its power to extort money in every way they possibly could and pass it on up the line.
In mid-74, they began to run into problems. Nixon is embroiled in Watergate.
The time has come for me to speak out about the charges made and to provide a perspective on the issue for the American people.
Dealing with a very confronting Congress, U.S. military aid is reduced, and essentially the South Vietnamese began then to feel the squeeze. By mid-74, they're rationing artillery rounds, they're rationing grenades. As time goes along in 74, of course, Nixon, who made 31 promises that the United States would be there for South Vietnam, in early August finds himself out of office and disgraced.
Therefore, I shall resign the presidency effective at noon tomorrow.
Nixon essentially said, we will be there like we were in 72. And Tu believes that to the last minute, despite evidence to the contrary.
In 1974, Congress voted to cut aid. The military had proposed $1 billion or $1 billion plus in military aid for South Vietnam, and Congress cut that back to $700 million. So a significant reduction, but there was never a cutoff. People sort of attribute this to the left wing, the peaceniks. And that movement had no influence. And what had really changed in politics was that once American soldiers weren't there, the American public didn't really care what happened to Vietnam.
My parents always had this fear that in the end the communists would win. The Americans only gave them hope as long as they were there. But now, with the Americans gone, the whole country, sunken into this despair, they began to feel afraid.